Ava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this evening we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're reading from chapter 4, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. We'll be reading from text 2. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Evam paramparā praptam imam. Okay, you could do it. Evam paramparā praptam imam raja shayo viduhu sakalena mahata yoga nashta parantapa. Okay, if you could please repeat one more time. Evam, thus, paramparā, by disciplic succession, praptam, received, imam, this science, rajarishayaha, the saintly kings, viduhu, understood, saha, that knowledge, kalena, in the course of time, iha, in this world, mahata, great, yogaha, the science of one's relationship with the Supreme, nashtaha, scattered, parantapa, O Arjuna, subduer of the enemies. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, this succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Purport. It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and who would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, also, there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to the authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krsna. This spirit is demonic. Because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the paramparā, disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. You can close that one too, please. Om Jnanativedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. Mukam Karidivachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaram Vancha Kapadribishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, as was mentioned here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, he's saying that there are so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita, especially in English. And Bhagavad Gita means the song of God or the song of Krishna. But there's so many different translations. And as he's mentioning that most of them, practically all of them, they weren't able to really capture the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita, or in other words, present Krishna how he wants to be presented. So they would add things, they would subtract things, right? The commentators. For example, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhava mad bhakta, you should think of me. So, means that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's saying that people, living entities, should think of him, right? So there was one particular commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, and he would say that, well, it's not Krishna you have to think about, or it's not Krishna you have to surrender to. It's the unborn, eternal within Krishna. So then Srila Prabhupada brings up in a purport discussing this, he says that this is the foolish idea, because there's no difference between the Krishna, the inside of Krishna and the outside of Krishna. There's no difference. It's not that there's some unborn within Krishna. Because Krishna is absolute, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and specifically the Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. That Krishna has a form which is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. And there's no difference. Again, there's no difference. It's not that there's there's the unborn within Krishna, then there's the outside of Krishna, or something like that. Whereas in the material world, like all of us here, sitting here, there is a difference between us and our body. We're not the body, as Krishna explains in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We're the soul. So, in other words, these are all in personal understanding, that ultimately Krishna is just not a person. And most religious people of today, and practically most religious people, like I said, they're accepting God as some type of impersonal force, some type of impersonal light or something like that. Whereas the Vaishnava understanding is that there's 3 aspects to the absolute truth. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Shabhyate. So there's the impersonal aspect, the fulgence, right, emanating from Krishna's body. And then there's Krishna in everyone's heart, means the super soul, God in everybody's heart, directing us, right? I have one more last request for you, Dimitri. Do you think you could open this door a little bit so there's a little airflow here? And do you think you could just move this table here, please, okay, with the water? I need air and water. I'm dependent on air and water. I think everybody is. All right, thank you. So there's Krishna within everybody's heart, and he is directing the wanderings of everyone according to our desires. So everyone here, for some reason or the other, they had a desire to come to the temple. And therefore, Krishna in our heart has guided us to the temple. Many people, they didn't have a desire to come to the temple tonight. They had a desire to go to a local bar or something like that, right? And therefore they're at the bar, watching football. I think football's playing now. And the reason I know that because there's a lot of bars around here and they're quite loud. So upstairs where I stay, when I was sitting up there earlier and I heard loud roaring. You know, they're roaring for their particular team. So they've been directed there based on their desire. Just I was saying last night to a group of people I was speaking to that I was driving yesterday. I had to visit some friends at their house. And while I was driving, I looked to my left and I see a bar. I think it's called the Owl or something like that. You know that one before you get on the 5. Come on, Mowgli, you have to pay attention to these things. I'm just joking. It's important. So there's a bar there. I think it's called the Owl or something like that. Anyways, so they had a sign outside. They're trying to attract people in. So the sign said, it was a sign, but they wrote in chalk, right? It said, detour to happiness. Means come in the bar, it's a detour. Like wherever you're going to shop, you're going to your friend's house. Hey, just take a little detour to happiness, right? So, Krishna in the heart, he'll guide us there. And he'll actually facilitate us being convinced that there's some type of happiness there, based on our desires for that. Or our desires to neglect Krishna or neglect God, then we'll end up so many places. So there's Krishna in everyone's heart, and then there's Krishna, the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personal Aspect, Shamasundar. So there are different aspects to the Absolute Truth. It's not that Krishna or God's just impersonal. That's one aspect, but there's other aspects. So when Srila Prabhupada mentions that so many people have misinterpreted the Bhagavad Gita, that's what he's saying. That they've misinterpreted it to mean that God or Krishna is impersonal, which is not. And as he mentions here, is that they make a good business on it. They sell a bunch of Bhagavad Gitas, although they're not properly representing the message or commenting on it. They make a good business. They make a lot of money. So what Srila Prabhupada did is very important. Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, here to the left of me. What he did was very important, and that was to preserve the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Which is a very profound book, to say the least, and it is a guide for the conditioned souls to become spiritually realized or Krishna conscious. And it's not so easy to preserve a particular tradition or knowledge. Just like I was somewhere and they were doing some exercise, and the exercise was that game. It's like, I don't know if they call it telephone or something, where you break off in groups, and then the first person, they have a message, right? And then they say it to the second person, who says it to the third person, who says it to the fourth person. So they broke off in groups. We broke off in groups, and everyone had a different message. And this was in a 20-minute period. It was just a small exercise. So I said a particular thing. Mary went to the store to pick up some almond milk, and on the way she got a ticket for going 110 miles an hour, right? So that was the message. Okay? So then it goes 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person. And then at the end it's like Mary was very frustrated with her life, and therefore she decided to jump off a bridge, Sorry for the, graphic jumping off a bridge, but she lived, right? There's actually one woman right here in Coronado Bridge. Apparently it's a destination where people go to, jump off and try to end their life. But so there's this woman, and she jumped off the bridge with her young daughter. And she jumped, and there's people in their boats there and everything. And they saw her do that, and they picked her up out of the water and put her on the boat with her young daughter. And they tried to rush him to the hospital, and the mother died, but the daughter lived. So actually quite amazing. Very young girl. So then years go past, and she didn't know. She didn't really ever realize how her mother died. She always thought, she died in a car accident or something like that. But then somehow or other she saw some footage of this. The woman jumping and the daughter and everything. And somehow or other she came to the conclusion that was her. and it was her. Somehow or other, the family just never talked about it. So she ended up living, and now she's working as trying to help people, right? Not commit suicide. Anyways, that's a kind of a diversion. But with the telephone game, Mary going to the market to get almond milk and getting pulled over because she was speeding, Mary was very frustrated with her life and decided to jump off the bridge. So you could see the big difference there. But it was, of course, this wasn't the exact example, what came out, but the point was in every single group, there was a different message, just amongst like 4 people. It's amazing. So it's a tough task to preserve knowledge, to preserve tradition, to preserve some type of spiritual knowledge, because there's a tendency for people just not to hear properly. Like my friend was given a class here one time, and he was speaking about Krishna and we're the soul and different things, Bhagavad Gita class. And then he was speaking with one man afterwards, and the man said, "I really like your class. I really enjoyed it. And I really liked the part how you said we're all God. I really liked that." So that was the last thing my friend said. Means it wasn't even the last thing. He didn't say it at all. But the guy just kind of heard that, right? That we're all God somehow. So it's a tough thing to preserve. And therefore, there's such a thing as a disciplic succession. Means a succession of gurus and disciples who have been existing since time immemorial, and they've been passing down this spiritual knowledge in a very codified language, Sanskrit, which is difficult to change, actually. Of course, you could translate it, and then you could write all types of nonsense commentaries on it, but in terms of actually changing the text, it's very difficult. So there's a whole line of gurus and disciples. For example, in this Bhagavad Gita, in the very beginning of this particular Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, the commentator on this Bhagavad Gita, he lists a whole bunch of names. And these are gurus and students from very, very thousands of years. It's been passed, the knowledge down. And these saintly persons in the disciplic succession, these gurus, these students, because they are of such a high spiritual stature, such a high spiritual position, and their minds are not clouded by all types of garbage and just dirt. And in other words, their minds are very clear, crystal clear. And because of that, they're able to very perfectly pass down this spiritual knowledge in a line of disciplic succession. Because they follow high moral principles, by which following people don't have the tendency to cheat. They see things clearly. We wonder sometimes why in the world there's so much confusion and chaos and frustration and anger and depression, etc., etc. Or sometimes we wonder why it's happened within us. And that is because, many reasons, but one reason being is that our minds are unclear, or people's minds are unclear. And therefore, because their minds are unclear and confused and clouded, how can they see properly? How can they know to turn right or left? How do they know which way to go, to attain the ultimate happiness? They don't know. So these saintly persons, following these very high principles of spirituality, of moral principles, spiritual principles, they're able to see very clearly. And because they're able to see very clearly, they've passed that down to their disciples. And their disciples, in due course of time, become gurus, and they pass it to their disciples. And it's a very pure transmission of spiritual knowledge going on. Hare Krishna. So one of these great personalities within this particular disciplic succession is Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, who, if you look to the altar to the left of you or to the right of you, you'll see that there's 5 pictures there below Radha Krishna, the deities, Radha Giridhari. There's 5 pictures of different acharyas or teachers. And in the middle, you'll see there's a picture with picture has a garland. So that's Gaura Kishore Das Babaji. Of course, a little distance maybe from where you are, but so today is Gaura Kishore Das Babaji's disappearance day. Now, someone may wonder, okay, why are you celebrating the disappearance of somebody? It means the time they left this world. Within Western society, or within the world, it's very common to celebrate someone's birthday, right? Happy birthday to you. So celebrate somebody's birthday. Oh wow, you're 2 years old, you're 5 years, and they keep on going. I don't know if they stop at one particular point. People stop celebrating their birthdays. I guess you could go on, but some people stop. But so you celebrate the day. It's a happy day when somebody we love has appeared in this world, right? To give us their association to. But the disappearance of someone, or someone leaving this world, especially a saintly person, they have left a legacy and they have left a perfect example how to live a perfect life in Krishna consciousness. And they say that the appearance of such a great personality in this world is just like the rising of the sun. Now, I'm not sure when's the last time anybody here has seen the rising of the sun. Has anyone seen the rising of the sun recently? Okay, Guru Krishna? All right. Nice. So we could take an opportunity to carve some time out and to plan to see the rising of the sun. It's very beautiful. I remember one time I was on a road trip from Oregon to California, San Diego. It's, 16 hours or something like that. I was maybe 8 years old, but I went to sleep at night, and I remember I was seeing the sun set. And then my aunt, she was driving. All of her cousins were there. And then I woke up, and I remember seeing the sun rise. So anyways. But whether you see the sun rise, it's very beautiful. So that's the appearance of a saintly person in this world. Very, very beautiful. And then also them leaving. It's like the sunset. Maybe more of us have seen the sunset recently. Has anybody seen the sunset today? Okay, one person. Or two, okay. So the appearance of such a great personality like Gaura Kishore Das Babaji is very beautiful, and the disappearance is beautiful. So today is the disappearance of Gaura Kishore Das Babaji. Now, Gaura Kishore Das Babaji, being in this disciplic succession, he's of extreme, inconceivable purity and love for Krishna. He was Sakshat Vairagya Morte, which means he was the personification of renunciation. He was extremely renounced. I mean, even nowadays, we could understand, people could understand, modern people could understand the significance of detachment or renunciation. For example, when a lot of people think about, I'm talking about how most people or a lot of people may think about particular people, but when people think of somebody who is renounced, they may think of Mother Teresa, who, in their estimation, lived a very simple, detached life, right? To help people, according to her perceptions. So people, or they appreciate some type of like some people who are very renounced monks or something, very detached. So people could appreciate. So Gaurkashodas Babaji was of the extreme level of renunciation, inconceivable level. Said that he would, in his eating habits, he would just have like boiled rice, just simple, that's it. But sometimes it said he would just eat the mud of the Ganga. Can you believe that? That's really detached. Because he thought that the bodily urges means, he thought that because, of course, you need to have some intake of some type of food in order to keep the body going, he thought this was a disturbance to his real business. So he thought sleeping was a disturbance, eating was a disturbance, what to speak of anything else, was a disturbance to his real business of what? Chanting Hare Krishna. Chanting the holy names of Radha and Krishna, chanting the names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he would just take mud and just eat it, and then in this way his stomach would be pacified, and he would continue chanting Hare Krishna all day and all night. Which this is within any tradition. You go to the tradition of Buddhism or Islam or Catholicism. They're chanting on beads. I remember I was distributing books. I used to do that, believe it or not, more than I do now. I was distributing Bhagavad Gitas and other books, and I was in El Cajon, which has a large percentage, maybe those of you who know, but they have a large percentage of refugees and people from the Middle East. So I was there, I was chanting on my beads, I was walking around the park, and then I saw a few men, and they also had their beads, and they were chanting. So it's within every tradition. So similarly, within this tradition, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, or followers of Krishna, there's a lot of chanting of Hare Krishna, just like we did here, 5:30 to 6. We were just chanting Hare Krishna. And we're chanting Hare Krishna at least 2 hours a day on our beads. So Gaurkashodas Babaji, he was chanting like all day long and all night long. And someone may say, oh wow, that sounds like real torture. That sounds really boring, right? Where's the excitement? Where's the nightlife, right? That sounds really boring, just to sit there and chant. But for one who chants, actually tries chanting, it's anything but boring if they're able to actually enter into the chanting. Why? Because it is it's the names of Krishna, it's the names of God, it's the names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna means one who's all attractive. Rama means the reservoir of pleasure, which we're all searching for pleasure, every single one of us in this room and every single entity on this planet is searching for pleasure. And Hare is the feminine aspect of Krishna, who's Radharani. So within Western theology, specifically Christianity, there's many disagreements amongst Christians. And by the way, I'm not taking a metaphysical gun out and trying to shoot Christianity down. I mean, I grew up as a Christian myself, but it's a fact. There's many differences, and one of the proof that it's a fact is that there's so many churches. Right? There's a church that they believe that, okay, you need a priest to connect you to God. And then there's a church that say, no, you don't need a priest that connect you to God. You and God could go, have a direct relationship. And then there's a church that thinks that the holy day is on Saturday. And then there's a church, most of them think, that the holy day is on Sunday, right? Sabbath. And on and on and on. So there's differences, therefore different churches. But practically everything that they agree, or practically they all agree on one thing, as far as I've seen, and that is that there's a God. What's Christianity without, right? Their acceptance of a God, and Jesus Christ, of course. But they accept this idea that, there's a God and He's our Supreme Father, right? They're praying to the Father. That's how they pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, right? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. So they're praying to the Father. Now, in most cases, when there's a father, there's a mother. So the understanding within this tradition, Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, followers of Krishna, is that yes, there's a father, aham bija pradapata, that Krishna is the seed-giving father. He's the Supreme Father, Krishna. But there's also a mother, Srimati Radharani. So part of the Hare Krishna mantra, it is not just calling out to the Supreme Father Krishna, but also calling out to the Supreme Benevolent, most merciful, most kind Supreme Mother, Srimati Radharani. So this is what Gaura Kishore Babaji was doing. He was just calling out with great love and with great affection to Krishna. And somebody calling out to us, like for example, I'm sure I know many of you in the audience, and I know that many of you have traveled internationally, and those of you who are from India, it's a common thing to go back to India to visit family and this and that. But while going through customs, there's right. It's such a pain actually, going through. Anyways. So they say your name. Okay, my legal name is Vincent Bronson Formicola. So they say, "Hello, Mr. Vincent Bronson Formicola. Welcome to India, or welcome to London, and do you have anything to declare? How much money do you have? You're not bringing too much money to this country, right?" Or whatever. They have so many things they're asking. Now, when I hear my name spoke by one of these officials, it's not that my heart begins to flutter and I'm feeling like a surge of affection from this person. It's very mechanical, it's very business oriented, and there's no love and affection within it whatsoever, right? Now, if my friend, right, if I upon getting to London, I meet my friend Vrindavan Das. I actually know somebody in Vrindavan Das name in London, and we are friends. But when I get there and he sees me at the airport and he's picking me up and he says, "Oh, Balaram, I'm so happy to see you," then I'll actually feel some affection. I'll feel some, right? I'll feel something. So similarly, it's not that the great devotees or the great personalities within these traditions are just chanting some name mechanically that doesn't mean anything, but they're actually chanting Krishna's names or God's names with great love and affection, and they're feeling something. So this is what Gaura Kishore Babaji was doing. He was calling out to Krishna all the time. And he was on this most high level of renunciation. So we have Gaura Kishore Babaji. And Babaji means, again, somebody who's just chanting practically 24 hours a day. Now, Gorgashodas Babaji, okay, so we're going to conclude soon. Gorgashodas Babaji, it says that he could hardly write his name. He was illiterate. But, which a lot of people at the time in India were talking, I don't know, I guess hundreds of years now. But great scholars and great personalities would come to him and ask him spiritual questions. Because the idea is that through his chanting, all the truths of the Vedas manifested within him. Or they're already there, but due to his purity. So if you look to the right, if you're looking at the altar and there's the flowers with Gorgashodas Babaji, look to the right, there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, understanding his great purity and the greatness of this personality, he asked his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is to the left of Gorgashodas Babaji. So he asked his son, you should take initiation from this person. In other words, you should accept this person, Gorgashodas Babaji, as your teacher. So Gorgashodas Babaji, upon being asked by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, can you please accept me as your teacher? Gorgashodas Babaji said, do you think you could go up there and tell them to, if you just go up the stairs here? They're very enthusiastically talking up there. You tell them to close their door or something. So Gorgashodas, so he told him that you should take initiation from this person. You should accept this person as your teacher. So he went to Gorgashodas Babaji, and Gorgashodas Babaji said, no, I'm not accepting any students. He said, I tried to do that one time and they all left, so I'm not accepting any students, sorry. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's heart was just like shattered from this. And he said, and he begged him practically, please accept me as your student. You're such a great personality, you're so pure. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was, I mean, any and every guru teacher would want him as a disciple. He was so qualified, spiritually and materially, genius. So anybody would want him. But Gorgashodas Babaji said, I'm not accepting disciples. So eventually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he begged him, practically. And Gorgashodas Babaji said, okay, fine, let me ask Krishna, let me ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the next day, did you ask him? And Gorgashodas Babaji said, I forgot. And then the next day, he asked him, okay, did you ask him? So what's the conclusion? Can you accept me as a disciple? And then he said, I asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, another great Sri Krsna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I asked him, and he didn't give the sanction, so... Anyways, but eventually he accepted him as a disciple. And Gorgashodas Babaji, again, he's living a very renounced life. He wouldn't step foot in cities. He was just seclusion, chanting Hare Krishna. Whereas Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was quite the opposite. He was setting up temples all over India, 64 of them. And somebody asked him one time, it seems that you and your guru are so different. Your guru's in seclusion, chanting Hare Krishna, and you're setting up temples all over India. So what's going on with that? And he said, actually, my guru is like the motor in a boat, which is it makes the boat move. Although you don't see it, it's making the boat move. So similarly, whatever I'm doing is actually fueled by my spiritual teacher. So then, this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who's a disciple of Gorgashodas Babaji, he met Abhaycharan, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, here to the left of us, the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement. And he spread the Hare Krishna movement throughout the whole entire world. Very exciting, actually. There's books about it. And we're all sitting here because of him. tonight. So this is all coming from Gaura Kishordas Babaji and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, the disciplic succession. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is mentioning the importance of the disciplic succession, having a pure line of teachers and disciples to carry on knowledge. So those of us who are in the tradition, we should be very happy to be in such a profound, beautiful tradition. And those of us who may not have subscribed to the tradition just yet, or maybe we won't, but at least we could give it a look. That's the function of intelligence. The function of intelligence is to weigh out one's options and to choose the best option. So in the world, there's so many options for happiness, right? Driving by the bar, detour to happiness, right? Right in the bar. The Bhagavad Gita is a formula for happiness. The book is a formula for happiness. It describes how to be happy. So to be intelligent, or to use our intelligence, is to consider such things. All right, so I'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Let me try to understand you.
All right, let me try to understand you.
Yes.
Go for it.
First thing you said was, as per Prabhupada, Krishna has body and soul as the same as compared to humans, where the body and soul are different.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That is the whole thesis behind Krishna's consciousness. Is that correct?
That's aspect, yes. Yes.
Second question is about Prabhupada, your Swamiji. You're saying that he was living on rice and mud.
Yes.
How long he did really live? Because rice has only carb. And one cannot live on the carb at all.
Yeah.
If I put somebody on carb and give the same thing, he will not be able to survive more than 2 years.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So how did he live? How long did he live?
All right.
Is that correct?
Okay, thank you. Well, there's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, what's the use of a long life? Trees live for thousands of years. Of course, this is debatable, but amongst a lot of people, maybe most, or a lot of people would accept that the existence of a tree is not so...
Water and soil.
Yeah, I'm making a point. Just 1 second. I didn't finish. So trees, according to the Vedic conception, is that they live a very restricted life. In other words, there's soul. Wherever there's life, there's a soul. So there's a soul in the form of a tree as well. But that life form as a tree is very restrictive. It means they have to stand there for thousands of years, and there's not like a human. There's more of opportunities, right, for spiritual growth. So in the Bhagavatam, it says, what's the use of a long life like a tree? Thousands of years. You may live a long life. And the Bhagavatam says, better even just one moment of full consciousness, full spiritual consciousness. So and then Srila Prabhupada brings up the point, comment on this, is that many great acharyas, many great teachers, Jesus Christ himself, he didn't live very long life. Shankaracharya, many of them didn't live long lives. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the main thing is, you could say, oh, well, how long did he live? Now, this can't be imitated, Gaura Kishordas Babaji. It's not that we're advising everybody, like tonight we're going to say, okay, we're going to feed you, some mud or some sand from the local beach, right? I don't think anybody's going to be happy with us. By the way, we have a dinner afterwards, so everybody could make sure they get a dinner if you like before you go. So this is just an extreme example of renunciation, which can't be imitated. So we're not advising that. But he lived a life, I'm not exactly sure, because it's not clearly described when he appeared, but it seems that it was into the 60s or 70s. Yeah. So. All right. Was there another? Yes.
To that, there are those who also have breatharians, as we know of.
You want to pass the mic to him?
In response to your query, sir, there are many who are known as breatharians who have spent years and years living on nothing except air. There are many yogis in the Himalayas who do the same. So it is not uncommon in our traditions to find highly evolved beings living upon pure energy, right, which is available to them simply through the chanting of the name of God or through any other forms of so many forms of meditation that are there. So it is inconceivable to us what he's describing, and yet anything is possible.
Nobody can live beyond 30 days. They are hungry.
Sir,
You will die.
no, this is not true. This is not true. Please
Well, they're living on the spiritual
breatharians and look up
platform.
yogis, sir. Just look up these two things on your own, and I think you can take the conversation after that.
Here, you can pass it to her, please.
I have just curiosity to know. You know that in our Bhagavatam second canto, it's written about
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Yeah, in our Bhagavatam in second canto, it's written about the disciplic succession from Brahmaji and then Madhavacharya and Madhaveshwar. So just want to know, curiosity, is that the same Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur from there?
Yes.
Oh wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh wow, great. And also just, I just want to mention one thing. Like here, it's not only the example of the yogis who are surviving because they are very different and spiritual. They are coming from, spirituality is very different than the living or normal living. It's like we need Krishna's kripa in order to get the divine mercy and everything. But if you want to see like people who are very hungry, poor, not getting food for many days, many years, I have seen one beggar in my land. He used to survive on nothing. He didn't get food at all. He used to just go 5 homes, including my home. And if suppose he's not getting food from those 5 homes, he used to be hungry, he survived 80 years. So life and death is in the hand of God. Its journey is yours, where you want to destinate. It's not a car or something like that, but even though he's lying on like this, he will not ask for the food even, but he will not get the death. He will not get the death.
It is not possible.
If people goes in coma, what they do? People goes in coma, what they do? So science only explained the one thing, money having a food and for the no. Science explained both the things. People goes in
Anyways,
coma, what
well,
they do? Anyway,
see,
it's the argument.
if
I
you
don't want to go into it.
If we want some like match, maybe we could take it outside, huh? But the thing is, it's people. There's many things within traditions that saintly persons have done. It's on the spiritual platform. But anyways, we don't have to. I think we've all got the point. Whatever we're going to get at this point. All right. So thank you all very much. The altar will close in 15 minutes. So what we'll do before that is we'll chant Damodar Ashtakam, which is a song that's sung within this particular month. So we'll pass out some song sheets, and if we don't have enough song sheets, then you could look it up on your phone, which I suspect most of you have with you. Damodar Ashtakam. And then if you don't have a phone or you don't have a paper, you could look at somebody's phone with the song on or the sheet. And Vrindavan Prabhu will lead us in that. And then afterwards at 7:15, there's some to-go boxes of dinner out on the patio there. So some people, they sit out on the patio, so you could do that if you like, or you could just take it home. So, all right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.